In this video, I want to discuss how the new enforcement of COPPA is going to affect my channel and other Jurassic World Evolution channels by extension. But to make a long story short, my channel and other similar channels will not be affected, and even the Gaming Beaver should rest a little easier tonight. I don't think he'll watch this, but I'm hoping he does the same research that I've done. You've probably seen his video yesterday and I feel very bad for him. He's very clearly concerned, which is why I contributed a comment to the Let Your Voice Be Heard initiative. While I think public concern is getting out of hand, the guidelines do require clarification before they go into effect, so it is important to chime in. The link for that was shared by the Gaming Beaver as well as Clayton Fioriti and many others, and is also in the description box below. If you are fully informed on the issue and you want to support all channels, please leave a respectful comment on the regulations.gov website. But watch my video first, because I have a lot of information to get to that will shine a light on everything, including some concrete examples of channels that the FTC is looking at, which is finally giving us insight in the type of channel they are going after. On the screen you can see the current guidelines put forth by the YouTube Help Center. There is some gray area here, which is the source of most backlash, but mostly it paints a relatively secure picture for Jurassic World Evolution content, and as such I want to put you at ease, but also invite you to share your concerns with me in the comments. Now before we get into this, I have no legal expertise. A day at law school at 19, a legal dispute with a fraudulent company that I won, by the way, and arguing my way out of legal fees with a blood-sucking lawyer, my proudest accomplishment yet. That is all the experience that I have with the law, so nothing noteworthy. But in my defense, I am highly educated and I'm more in the older range of YouTubers, and, well, let's put it this way, I am so level-headed in situations like this that you might think me a psychopath. So those are my credentials. Let's just go through these points and discuss them in relation to my channel, so specifically with regards to Jurassic World Evolution content. And we're also going to be looking at the blog with new information put out by the FTC that is referenced at the top of the YouTube Help Center page. And with new information still coming out, let me reiterate, there is no need for JWE channels to worry yet. The following is stated at the bottom of the page, but I want to lead with it as it provides context. How old is a kid? The age of a kid in the United States is defined as anyone under the age of 13. However, the age of a kid may be higher in other countries, so consider the factors described above as appropriate given how kid is defined in applicable laws in your country, and consult legal counsel if you have additional questions. You might think anyone who isn't a legal adult is considered a child, but as it is said here, the general definition is younger than 13. There are some exceptions per region, as is said, which you need to be mindful of, but the rule of thumb of 13 years old is what I will be basing the rest of this video on, since it is most generally applicable. According to the FTC's guidance on COPPA, a video is child-directed, which we call made for kids, if children are the primary audience based on the factors described below. Children are not the primary audience, but the video is still directed to children based on the factors below. Okay, so let's look at those factors. Subject matter of the video, e.g. educational content for preschoolers. The base of it is pretty vague, but the example is very telling. What the subject matter is of my videos? Jurassic World Evolution, which is a PEGI 16 rated game, meaning it is not suitable for children. It is a game that features violence and a certain managerial aspect that will not attract children. Moreover, my approach to the game is design, not something a 10-year-old will typically find thrilling. Whether children are your intended or actual audience for the video. In my case, this is unequivocally not the case. Again, it is a PEGI 16 game and my approach to it isn't accessible to the youngsters. Data from YouTube Analytics reinforces this. Only 3% of my viewers is between the age of 13 and 17, the majority is between the age of 24 and 30. Whether the video includes child actors or models? Clearly, no, and that would be weird. whether the video includes characters, celebrities, or toys that appeal to children, including animated characters or cartoon figures. Jurassic World Evolution features dinosaurs, which are traditionally popular among children. But the Chucky movies feature a doll, and we can all agree those movies do not appeal to or target children. That's just an extreme example to clarify the point I'm making. Just because something might conceptually attract children doesn't mean that it actually does within its context. Whether the language of the video is intended for children to understand. No. The language barrier, given that English is not my first language, might have me reverting to simpler terms when I'm immersed in the game, but it is not the same as language intended to be understood by children. We all know how we talk to really young children, how everything is simplified and concrete, no abstract terms or anything like that. That is not the language that I or any of the JWE content creators that I watch use. Also, the game itself does not use language accessible to children. Ian Malcolm's rant about Fractal comes to mind when you first arrive on Sorna. Whether the video includes activities that appeal to children, such as play acting, simple songs or games, or early education. Again, this is a clear no. We might complain that Jurassic World Evolution is more simple than we would have liked, but it is not a simple game. Whether the video includes songs, stories, or poems for children. Another no. Any other information you may have to help determine your video's audience, like empirical evidence of the video's audience. Note, YouTube Analytics, YTA, is not designed to help determine if your content is child-directed. You should use the factors outlined by the FTC above to set your audience. Now, while YouTube Analytics does not count as a legal means of defining your audience and as such would not be a defense in court, it is data that you can use as an indicator. Is your audience predominantly made up of teens? Then it is likely your content has a large number of child viewers as well. I don't think analytics includes that demographic in the information, but you'd have to make that inference. Like I said, only 3% of my audience is between 13 and 17, so 97% is 18 or older, the majority of which is 24 and older. So it is safe to assume that any child viewers are outliers. And as someone who studied statistics as part of her psychology degree, I can assure you, outliers are discounted when looking at results. Outliers are not a determining factor. And again, they are referencing the factors above, which do not apply logically. Let's also look at what it says under this link. The key is to balance all COPPA specified factors that apply to this analysis. For example, the fact that a kid is featured in a video does not necessarily mean that the video is made for kids. You will have to look at all other attributes of the video, like the intended audience, whether the video uses language that is intended for kids to understand, and the subject matter of the videos. What is important here is that they acknowledge that even if one factor does, on a very basic level, imply that the content might be intended for children, doesn't mean it actually is. I repeat what they're saying. For example, the fact that a kid is featured in a video does not necessarily mean the video is made for kids. So, the fact that there are dinosaurs in our videos does not necessarily mean the video is made for kids. Yes, these guidelines have a lot of gray edges, which are a problem that needs to be addressed, and it is being addressed, as you can see from new information still coming out. But right now, no one can legally argue that this kind of Jurassic World Evolution content is made for children, and that is the current state of things. And I'm sorry for sounding so serious, but I really want to emphasize that. Now, I also want to look at this update that was added. It doesn't add a lot of new information, and the mentioned guidelines are, if possible, even more vague, but there are a couple of key points that I hope will further put you at ease. And with regards to those vague guidelines, the fact that the guidelines are this vague also works against them. It doesn't just work against us, it works against them as well. You can't break a rule if a rule is so poorly defined that it depends on subjective interpretation. Without getting into it too much, this was the basis of my own personal legal dispute at one point in my life, and I won that legal dispute on this exact basis. Just a short story. A company I had signed a contract with had included a purposefully vaguely worded requirement hidden in the small text, which caused me trouble at a later point. But because it was such a gray definition and open to all kinds of interpretation, I had no problems settling this dispute in my favor. Just an FYI, the gray area works against them as well. What's noteworthy about this official blog is the following. Second, just because your video has bright colors or animated characters doesn't mean you're automatically covered by COPPA. While many animated shows are directed to kids, the FTC recognizes that there can be animated programming that appeals to everyone. This affirms what I said before, just because there are dinosaurs in it doesn't make it targeted at children, and similarly, just because you use a colorful thumbnail doesn't mean it is targeted at children. Let's continue. Third, the complaint in the YouTube case offers some examples of channels the FTC considered to be directed to children. This links to a page that has a number of documents, including one very formal statement worded in lawyer speak. You know, something the average person does not want to go through, but, well, I am not the average person, I am obsessive compulsive. So this is what I found in search of those examples that are referenced in this small section. It says, YouTube hosts numerous channels that are directed to children under the COPPA rule. Pursuant to section 312.2 of the COPPA rule, the determination of whether a website or online service is directed to children depends on factors such as subject matter, visual content, language, and use of animated characters or child-oriented activities and incentives. An assessment of these factors demonstrates that numerous channels on YouTube have content directed to children under the age of 13, including those described below in paragraphs 29 through 40. So I know where to look for concrete examples, so let's go to those paragraphs. But please pause the video and read this entire section, because the last half of the paragraph is also very relevant, as it paints a clearer picture of the type of channel that they are going after, the type that outwardly targets itself at children. But of course, the examples are going to be very important because we can measure our own content against those examples. Now, paragraph 29 to 40 is too much to read aloud and discuss in full detail, but just read it for yourself, and I will quickly summarize by saying what the mentioned channels are. Toy channels by Mattel and Hasbro, as well as Cartoon Network, DreamWorks TV, Masha and the Bear, Bertaley, a channel showing children engaging in activities with their parents, Cookie Swirl C, toy unboxings with child-targeted titles, Sandaroo Kids, family-friendly skits for kids, Evan Tube HD, a 13-year-old toy reviewer, Little Baby Bum, nursery rhymes, Mother Goose Club, more nursery rhymes, and Toy Scouter, nursery rhymes and unboxings. I mean, come on. Just look up any of these channels and you will readily agree that these are in fact child-targeted. And this is what the FTC means when they are talking about made for kids. They didn't include any gaming channels or any content that even remotely resembles what creators like myself, Swerve, Jurassic Cinema, or even the Gaming Beaver and Best in Slot put out there. Now let's go back to the official blog and get into the final point. Finally, if you've applied the factors listed in the COPPA rules and still wonder if content is directed to children, it might help to consider how others view your content and content similar to yours. Has your channel been reviewed on sites that evaluate content for kids? Is your channel or channels like yours mentioned in blogs for parenting of young children or in media articles about child-directed content? Have you surveyed your users, or is there other empirical evidence about the age of your audience? I think this speaks for itself. Now, a small channel like my own isn't going to get mentioned anywhere else on the internet, but do you think a channel like Best in Slot will ever get mentioned in a mommy blog? No, I don't think so. It's another reason to assume that, for now, we are safe and there's no need to get concerned about Jurassic World Evolution content and possibly even gaming content in general. The COPPA guidelines do really beg for improvement though, but at the moment they pose no real discernible risk to Jurassic World Evolution channels. So rest assured. If you think I've missed something, please share it in the comments. If you appreciate this video, please give it a like as well, and subscribe to my channel if you want to support me, and leave a comment via the link below to support all channels. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, enjoy the game, and don't worry.